Hello, welcome back to my channel where I talk about unplanned pregnancies, turning chaos and despair to be the best thing that ever happened to you. My name is Ana Munguia, and today I want to tell you about my first unplanned pregnancy. So you start knowing more about me and why I'm in this space. So, I come from a family that had mom and dad. I grew up with my mom and dad together. They got divorced when I graduated from high school. Within less than a year, both of them got remarried. I went to study to college. I was fortunate enough that in 1980, I went to study to Rhode Island, to a university in Rhode Island in the US. And in that time, in that season, there was a lot of turmoil inside my life because my parents split it and I didn't know they were having difficulties. Actually, I learned that my mom and dad were stayed together for 8 years so I could grow up and graduate from high school. But I didn't know this. So I thought my parents were getting along all the time. So yeah, I didn't know. Anyway, that affected me. Divorce always affect the kids. And then I went to college. I graduated from college. But during those years, I left my boyfriend behind. I had a high school sweetheart, like many of us do, and I left him behind. We gave us permission to each other to date anybody else while we were separated. So we would break up when I would go into the plane and go to and fly out to the US. I'm from Central America. So he dated other people, I dated other people, but we knew we were wanted to get married sooner or later. Anyway, so I took care of myself during those college years. I did not fool around with anybody. I didn't sleep around. That's what I want to tell you. I did not sleep around because I wanted my boyfriend to be the first one. And I graduated from college and I go back home thinking I am going to get married to my boyfriend, that we're talking about that since I'm 15. Now I'm 21 and I'm going back home. When I get to talk with my boyfriend and we get into that secret meeting because my parents, no, my mom didn't like him anymore because he didn't go to college and I did. We got into a meeting, this secret meeting about putting a date, even though our parents, or my parents, were not going to be happy about it. I still wanted to get married because he was like my soulmate, and I wanted to be with him. And he says, no. He told me that he could not marry me and that he was sorry. And I really got really mad, really upset because I've been taking care of myself all these years because of him. And now I come into the time I can get married because I'm already 21. I had graduated from college already, so I'm ready for my next step. And he tells me that he cannot get married to me. I got upset, girl, really upset. I don't know if you have been in one of those situations like me, but I got upset. And what did I do? I just wanted revenge. And I said, what do you think? I cannot get a boyfriend? I can. And this was end of November when I go back home. And so December comes and all the Christmas celebrations and stuff like that. So I go to this Christmas celebration with my mom and her husband of a friend. She was friends with the parents, and the kids were friends of mine. So we had 2 generations of friendships. So I go to this place because I wanted to get out of my depression and upsetness and everything. Now, nobody in my family knew I had gotten together with my boyfriend because they didn't like him. So this was a secret I could not tell anybody. I could not come to my mother and tell him, and tell her that I had broken up with him and that I was like depressed. She thought I wasn't going with him anymore for the longest time. They didn't see us together anymore. So people thought that we had broken up, but we haven't. We hadn't until that day. So I couldn't tell my mom I had broken up with him. And so I go to this Christmas party, and there was this guy I didn't know. And he asked me to go to dance. Okay, so I grew up in a family where drinking and smoking was normal, and I had permission for that since I was like 14 or 15, 13. I don't even remember when I started drinking because it was normal in my house. And so what happened was that I go with this guy to dance, and then we go to a disco after the party. He asked me if I wanted to go to a discotheque, and I felt grown up because I had lived outside from my house already. So I felt grown. Sorry, somebody knocked in the door. Okay, so I was in this space where I was really upset. And so I meet this guy and I go to him with him to dance. And we had a good time. We had just met, you know. So at the end of the night, he takes me home. But before he leaves me, he gives me a kiss. All right. Well, during college, I did not fool around, but I did kiss several frogs around there. So I said, one more frog, one less frog, doesn't matter. I was not surprised by the guy. I was not like impacted by the guy. It was just a guy, nothing. I didn't even remember his name the following day, but he got my number, so he calls home and he leaves me a message. I was not expecting his call, so I just wasn't waiting for the call. But he did call, and he asked me out and asked me to go to lunch with him. So I did. And so, long story short, we started dating. And he asked me the first date, real date, that we go out for lunch. I remember we were in this club, and it's a nice club that I grew up in, going to that club. But he invites me there. I don't know how he got in. Now that I remember, I don't think he was part of the club, but he got me there. I don't know. The thing is that we were in that club, and he asked me, "Were you the girlfriend of so and so?" And I said, "No. We have long time that we have broken up." Yep, I lied. I lied because I wanted to protect my heart. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't tell anybody the truth. So when you have secrets, they accumulate and they hurt. And so I said, no, we had broken up like long time ago, like years ago. We had just broken up last month. So I just ignored my boyfriend, hoping, secretly hoping that he would come back to me and ask me out and tell me to forgive him and tell him, don't worry, I'm sorry. I was so stressed out. I just didn't know. I'm not ready to get married now, but we can plan the wedding for next year. That's all I wanted to hear. And secretly, I wanted that to happen, but it didn't. He never went back after me. He didn't go back looking for me. So since he wasn't coming back for me, I started dating the next guy. So this guy, I started going out with him, and he starts talking nice to me. He was like a well-educated guy and professional. He was just graduating from college too. So he was graduating from a local college, one of the most prestigious local colleges that we have. And I had just graduated from the US. So I was like empowered that had a US degree in a Latin American country. That's a big deal. Doesn't matter what college you graduate from. It was just a big deal that I came from the US, graduated. And so we start talking, and he started talking to me nicely, you know, talking better, better to my ear, beautiful to my ear. And I don't know how I lowered my defenses. I broke my own rule. of not having sex before marriage, and he convinces me. And I remember that that day, that exact day, I remember I dressed up like really sexy. I was feeling sexy. I was feeling sexy. And I dressed up like sexy and I felt like hot little girl. I was a very thin little girl. I was 21 in 115 or something like that in my weight, pounds. And so he said that he had everything ready, that he had gotten a car from his sister to lend him. He got this car lended because he didn't want to go to this motel in his car so they wouldn't think it was him. So he gets this other car to have it, somebody think that it was somebody else. It was his sister's. I don't even know how I got into this game. That's dumb game that I didn't play in my teen years. I didn't play in my university years, but I went with this guy. Somehow I knew it was totally wrong. I knew it was wrong. I did it anyway. I felt like this urge of revenge inside of me and losing my virginity to an unknown guy instead of my boyfriend that I loved. And I didn't. Oops, I messed up. That moment was a really turn around point in my life. He used a condom and I still got pregnant. The minute that happened afterwards, I felt like so bad. I felt like a easy woman. I felt like he was gonna think that I had fooled around all my life during my college years. He actually always doubted that he was my first one. He always doubted me, and that didn't let me feel comfortable. In Latin America, we Latinos are like more squared about it. So he after that happened, we went to the disco that we went the first time, and we went dancing so people would see us outside, so we wouldn't be, so we would have an excuse that we went dancing, not to that place, the secret place and not good place to go. That's we have in our country, we have these places that are called motels, and it's not like the motels in the US. It's a motel that is just for hours, just to go to what you have to do, right? Well, that's where we went. And that was it. And we went, and she left me home. And then after that, I felt so bad. I did not let me touch me at all the next week, the next 2 weeks, the next 3 weeks. And then it was time for my period to come. And my period was very punctual. I had a very punctual, every 28 days exactly. I would have my calendar. We didn't have the apps that exist now. I had my calendar, and I would always follow my period when I was supposed to get it. And of course, I didn't even check that day if I was going to be fertile or not. I just didn't even know. I was kind of very innocent about it. And sure enough, the day that was supposed to come didn't come. The following day didn't come. And the following day, I went and bought a pregnancy test. Scared to my bones. It was really scary. And I get there, I get the pregnancy test, I get it into my purse, and I take it home, not wanting anybody to know about it. It was like a big secret. It's the secrecy time that you cannot tell anybody. You cannot have anybody know in your family, and you have this huge secret in your heart, and it's the turmoil, and it's and if it's positive, what I'm gonna do if it's positive? Oh my Lord, and all those feelings, the turmoil that you feel, the shame, the rejection, the scary part of it. I take it the next morning, early in the morning, I take the test, positive. Oof. I jumped into my shower, crying my eyes out. I was crying and crying. Oh my God, what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do. God, don't, please don't. God. I know the feeling, being there. That day I went to work. It was the 14th of February, 1984. I remember, like if it was yesterday, it was Valentine's Day. And so this Valentine's Day, it was the most horrible one in my life. And I would go to work and he picks me up from work. For some reason, I didn't have a car that day. And he picks me up and I tell him the news. I just, I had in the office I was working in, nobody knew about it either. I could not come and tell my boss, listen, I'm pregnant. I was just hired a month ago. It was like my new job as a professional with a very good paying job in a multinational. And I was pregnant the first month. I couldn't tell my boss about it. So that was another thing. It was like scary, 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 scary times. So I tell him when he picks me up, I'm pregnant. And I just shouted at him and I just got it out and I started crying. Of course, I started crying and crying. I could not keep the secret anymore. I could not tell my brothers. I could not tell my mother. I could not tell my father. I could not tell my boss. I could not tell a friend. All my high school friends were gone. They were all gone. Nobody was here. I graduated in 3 years instead of 4. For some, I stayed a summer, so I don't know. The things that I graduated in 3 years. So I was here without my classmates with whom I grew up with. Most of my classmates were together from K to 12. Is this school that happens a lot? It's not normal in the US, but for us, it's normal from K to 12, same school, same classmates, same everything. So I had nobody to talk to. So I tell him, and he just looks at me. I think he was going to say that he was going to doubt me, but he knew what we had done. And for some reason, I think those condoms had holes. I just have my theory that he had holes in it and that his mother put holes in it. And you're going to know why. Because he immediately looked at me and he said, let's get married then. I'm like, I'm like, what? Marriage? I mean, yeah, I want to get married, but not to this guy that I just met. I want to get married to this other guy. And it's so funny because that happened. I don't want to. I'm gonna get to that, but it's funny because he immediately told me that he wanted to get married. I was like, what? Married? I don't even know the guy. I just met him a month and a half before. I'm getting to know him. I like him, but I don't love him. And how is this gonna work? Besides, he's Catholic and I'm a born again Christian. I skipped that part. When I was 17, just about to graduate from high school, I received Christ in my heart. But I didn't know what it was. I didn't have any training and nobody discipled me. So I didn't even know what meant receive Christ. I just raised my hand once in a church I used to visit with my ex-boyfriend. We used to go and I raised my hand and I received Christ one day, and some other time that we met again, he raised his hand. So we were both Christians, but this guy is Catholic and I'm Christian. And I said, I don't want to get married. At least not by church, because I could not make a promise to God that I was gonna be with him in richness and poorness, in sickness and in health and all that stuff that we promise when we get married. I wasn't ready to make that promise with a guy I just met. So I don't know. The thing is that we had to tell our parents. And we went to his family first because he offered me marriage. So we had to go to his family and tell them about it. And I was the scariest thing ever. I was so scared. I thought they were going to reject me. I thought they were going to tell me that you're trying to catch my son, blah, blah, blah. Plus, he's the first son of the family. There are four siblings, and he's the first one. And I thought they were going to think I was trying to catch him, which I wasn't. But my mother-in-law, she was the happiest lady on earth. This is why I almost said before that I think she was the one pitching those condoms and giving it to her boys, because she had told them that she wanted to be a grandmother, that all her friends were grandmothers and she was the only one that wasn't, and to go out and to get somebody pregnant. The mother told the boys to get somebody pregnant because she wanted to be a grandmother. So she was happy about it. She was enthusiastic about it. She even offered me a room in her house so I would move into with them to his family. And I'm like, what? No, thank you. No, no, no. I don't want to live with a family. I just don't know too much. Thank you. So, well, but the thing is that acceptance and that happiness of my mother-in-law was like a relief in my heart. It was a big relief in my heart. Now we had to tell my parents. My mom caught us one day outside of the garage. He was dropping me off, but we were outside on the street and we were making out there. And she came out and she went to the window and we were like, oh, we were just kissing. We were not doing anything else. It was just kissing, making out, kissing. And she just, in the window, she went like that. I went, and she was surprised that I was doing that because she hadn't seen me that way. And she hadn't known any other boyfriend but the one I have seen for all these years since I was in high school. And so she caught us there. I just remember, and she didn't like the guy at all. And then one day we come back home and we just got into a fight. And I was living with my mother in that time. She was, as I told you, already remarried, and she had this house that I had my own room with my own bathroom. So I liked that part. And my father had gotten remarried also, and he was living in the house where I grew up in. And his new wife had little kids, so I was better off in my own room with my own bathroom. Anyway, so one day we fought, and I just went into my room, and I was crying and crying and crying, and my mother comes behind me, and he goes, "What's happened? What's wrong, dear? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Oh, we got into a fight, Mom, with so and so." And she goes, "Don't worry, things are gonna get better. Couples fight all the time." And I'm like, "Mom, it's more complicated." She goes, "Why?" And I throw the bomb. "I'm pregnant." And she goes, "What?" And you know what? The first things that came out of her mouth, instead of the happiness I saw from with my mother-in-law, the first things that she blooped out of her mouth was, "Get an abortion." Yes, get an abortion. Exactly, that's what she said. And I was devastated. I was not thinking about that at all. That was not one of my options. My option was be a single mother or get married. That was my option. I didn't know how to be a single mother because in my family there were no one single mother at all. None. We had none. All of them were married. And we children that were growing up, we were already getting married. My cousins were getting married, but nobody was a single mom. There was no single moms in my house, in my household, from my mom's side or my dad's side. There were none. So I didn't know how to do that. And I didn't want to get married either. So what was I expecting to hear from her mouth is to tell me, sweetie, don't worry, we'll get out of this. Just relax. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Go to sleep. That's what I wanted to hear from her mouth. But I got scared when she said that. And I know she got scared for me because that's what she reacted. That's how she reacted. She got scared for me knowing that I had just met the guy. So I don't blame her for that. It was just what she spit it out of fear for me. And I get it. I understand it. But it hurts my heart because that's not what you're expecting your parents to tell you, right? You're expecting your parents to not to applaud you because nobody's happy with an unexpected pregnancy or unplanned pregnancy, but at least not to throw you all I mean, you're already emotional, you already have a lot of turmoil inside, and on top of that, parents tell you that you have to go and get an abortion, or parents tell you have to give into adoption. That's not what you want to hear. You want to be listened. You want to be understood. You want to have somebody to talk about your options, your emotions, what you're feeling, what are your fears, what do you think about your future, how is your future going to change, how is your life going to change. That's what you want to hear. Somebody to talk with, right? That's me. This is why I'm doing these videos, not just to inform you. I'm here to help you, because in that moment, I needed that help that I didn't get. So fast forward, I am that help that now you need. I want to be that person that I needed in that time. When my mother spitted that out, that really hurt my heart. For years, I couldn't forgive that she said that to my son. I mean, yes, I didn't want the baby, but I didn't want my mother to tell me to kill my own baby. I knew it was not cells. Don't don't believe those lies. They're not cells, they're babies. Actually, I carry my baby with me. He was this size. This is my Gabriel. See? Yep, it was this size. See how big it is? This is a 12-week baby. This is 12-week baby. Look at it. This is how old Gabriel was when I miscarried. Well, oops, I got ahead. I got ahead. But yes, well, with the turmoil that I had inside of my emotions and my confusion and of my shame, and that I felt bad about myself, and I was hating myself and hating the guy and hating the baby and hating everything going around me. Suddenly, March comes in and I miscarried the baby. Yep, that's my baby. He was around 11 or 12 weeks old when I had a miscarriage. And I lost the baby. And in that moment that I lost the baby, I told my new boyfriend, well, you have to take care of it. I'm going to a private hospital, get the money. He wasn't working at that time. So I told him, well, get the money. It's your child. I was like so mean to him, and he did get the money. You see, I was working, but he wasn't at the time. And he got the money and he paid for the hospital for the miscarriage. And I went into the hospital like for a couple of days. I went out. And to tell you the truth, in that moment, I felt relieved. I was like, I'm not gonna be a single mom and I'm out of this. I'm not pregnant anymore. I was happy in the moment. I cannot lie about it. I was. But see, I didn't have anybody to talk with and tell and share all my emotions inside. And when I lost the baby, I still felt responsible that I had been pregnant with this guy and I carried his child in me. And because I had carried his child, we still went ahead with the wedding. I should have chosen to stop the relationship because I could not see myself having a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with sexual activity in between. I couldn't see it. So it was, my choice was break up with a guy or get married to the guy. And I chose getting married. Yep, wrong decision again. This is why when I talk to the girls, I always tell them to separate the issue of the parenting with the marriage. One thing is to co-parent the baby and have the guy responsible of the baby and be able for him to have visits to the baby and be present in the baby's life. But that doesn't mean that the relationship has to go on together if it's not a good fit. It wasn't a good fit, but I still went ahead and got married to him. And I'm going to stop here because it became long. So in another video, I'm going to talk about my second unplanned pregnancy. This is the first one. I just wanted to share with you a little bit of my experience in my unplanned pregnancies so that you know me and know where I'm coming from, so that I'm safe to talk to, that I'm safe to help you, and to tell you that I have a program with several steps of how to handle your unplanned pregnancy and how to go through the steps until you tell your parents and you get the support group. I am the first support person that you have in your life, but I have a program and a mentorship program to go with you through the whole process. I don't want you to do it alone. It's too lonely. It's too hurtful, and it's too many things in your head. You just can't think straight. I know it. You just can't think straight. There's too many things to think about. So I want to be here for you. So if you want my program, it's called First Aid Kit for Teens, and I have First Aid Kit for college students. They're very different because the season is different and the emotions are different and the responsibility is different. But I'm here for you to be part of your support group and help you into getting the support group that you need. So I'm going to be here until you're ready to jump out into the world by yourself. This is my mission. Help you go through these turmoil times and make the chaos and despair the best thing that ever happened to you. Believe me, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of your life. You have not ruined your life. There's a lot of different things that are going to happen in your life. Yes, you accelerated things. Yes, but this baby is the best thing that ever happened to you. I know so, and I'm here for you. So thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Ring the bell so you know every time I upload a video, and I'm going to be talking about this subject. I'm going to talk to you about my second unplanned pregnancy and how it came about. All right. Thank you for listening, and I hope it helped you a lot. Please give me your comments, and if you need any help, reach out. Bye-bye. Your friend, Anna.